we had a collage of like closing pictures at the closing table and then in front of the houses that they either bought or sold. It was over 100 families that was all pixelated in a collage. And I'm like, wow, wow. Because at the end of the day, like all have the same goal. The journey's different, but they all have the same goal.
Welcome, everyone, to the Closing Table podcast brought to you by WindowStill. I'm your host, Kat Schooler. Thank you for being here with us today. We have a great guest for you. Today, I am talking to Skyler Bone of SL Realty Group, Coldwell Banker, Southern Coast, operating out of the Southeast Georgia region. Skyler, how are you doing today?
I'm well. I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. So I was reading your bio, and one of the things you had written that kind of stuck out to me was that you started in your own backyard as a
I
personal assistant in real estate. Yeah?
I did. So I got into real estate. Surprisingly, I was 21 years old. I started as an assistant and I progressed from there to do marketing for, at the time, it was a different brokerage than what I'm with now, but I did marketing for all 5 offices. So I had a lot of the back end experience. I'm born and raised right here in Hinesville, Georgia. So from there, I've expanded my outreach and service all of Southeast Georgia. So starting as a personal assistant, I was that for 2, 3 years. And then I got my license in 2014.
Wow. 5 offices. That seems like a lot of work.
It was a lot for marketing for sure, but it helped me grow 100%.
Right. And then probably you just took all of those skills and then put it right into your own business.
Yes, you definitely learn what works, what doesn't work. Um, we also I helped with a lot of the billing because at the time in that market, it was a lot of foreclosures. So the market has
Mm.
changed a lot since then. I come over to Coldwell Banker in 2014 of February, and I started at the front desk there. And by June, I was licensed. The broker at the time, he told me that I was more valuable to him out in the field selling instead of behind the desk. So he made me spread my wings and I've just never looked back.
That's awesome. And did you always kind of know you wanted to go into real estate, or did it just kind of
So
unfold?
it kind of just unfolded and fell into my lap. I had a daughter and I wanted to be able to spend time with her, kind of not miss any school activities. And I was like, you know what? Let's get into real estate. I thought that I'd be able to make my own schedule and not do a 9 to 5, and that is totally opposite. Now I work around the clock, vacations, honeymoon, I was working. So that is a big myth on real estate. You do not get to make your own schedule. So, but no, I have truly enjoyed it. I recently built a team. I started my own team. It was maybe 3 years. I've had the SL Realty Group for 3 years, and it just started out with me and one of my team members, Corey Levesque. And from there, there is a total of 7 of us.
Wow, very cool. How
Yeah.
did you know it was time to start making your own team?
Whew. Whew. So we are a lot of a military market down here. And like I said, I've born and raised, grew up. So I have also a lot of sphere of influence buyers, repeat customers, people that refer people to me. And I was getting so busy, I just needed help. So, and that's why I brought Corey in. Corey was newly licensed agent. I just kind of took her under my wing and then started passing some stuff off to her. Well, I've got now 12 years under my belt. So I just keep at it. And I don't know, the business, it has not slowed down. And then when COVID hit and everything kind of went haywire, I really needed the help. Um, I got my sister licensed. So my sister, she become part of my team. Her and my cousin, Madison, she's on my team. So I do have family. They are out of our Statesboro market. They live there. So they help me service the Statesboro area and cover the surrounding counties there. And then Corey, Caroline, and Ernie is in this location. So they'll service this area, the coastal areas. And then Peyton is kind of a middle ground. She is in Glenville, and she'll hit the Hinesville area, Statesboro, just all those surrounding counties. So when I say all of Southeast Georgia, we touch it.
That's so cool. And I love that you've involved family in your business too, because, so often like family is like you, so you know how they operate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all work really well together. Ernie is currently the only male on our team, so bless him, he deals with a lot of females. But it's been good.
Now,
It's been a learning curve for sure.
right, right, because it's a different dynamic, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Um, you mentioned kind of the 2020 time in Southern Georgia. I'm just curious because I was living in Atlanta at the time, but of course I was renting. And in Michigan here, you actually for several months couldn't practice real estate. You couldn't do anything in Michigan. But from my recollection of Georgia was not so strict. So what were people buying and selling a lot in your
People
area?
were buying and selling a lot. It was a huge change. Everybody, of course, was scared. They didn't know what was happening. Everybody was scared to get sick. So we did a lot of this, what me and you are doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Sellers were a little lenient about people coming in their house, Germex, gloves, mask, the whole 9 yards. So we did what we had to do to make it work. I actually was talking to my broker in our last sales meeting, and there was a memory that popped up on my Facebook of a closing when COVID was going on, and we were all sitting outside for a closing. I had my gloves on because I was having to sign POA for one of my sellers, and we was under a tent, but on opposite sides of the parking lot. So that's how they was hosting their closings here.
Wow.
Yeah. But we adapted and overcome, and like we just made it happen.
Wow, that's so cool. And so many businesses were affected negatively. It's nice to hear the stories about, people having positive kind of experiences during such a tumultuous time.
Yeah, the that I think a lot of houses started hitting the market after COVID because when everybody was in them for so long, they're like, I'm gonna find a new house. So that helped a little bit.
Yeah. Have you noticed like a change in what people are looking for in homes since then? Because I've heard now, and this is just, articles you see on the internet. I don't know how much is true that like people are maybe like moving away from open floor plans. They want more privacy in their homes. Are you seeing that reflected amongst your clients?
So we still have a lot of the open floor plans here, but what we're seeing more of is the outdoor living space. Um, a
Oh, okay.
lot of the homes that are hitting the market, being that we're doing our cycle with new troops coming in, new troops going out, there is the outdoor living space. They have redone that. Beautiful backyards. A lot of people have got pools now, so pools is a big thing. The barbecue areas and the screened in porch. Those it's a lot now, which I'm fine with. I'm an outdoors person.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And you have such, beautiful weather most of the time. So it's really worth it
Yeah. Yes.
when it's not raining. Um, so with that being kind of in a more military focused area, like how is that different than maybe your more like your civilian clients?
So with military, 90, I'm gonna say all of them are using their VA loans. So you just have to know
Mhm.
which properties qualify for it, how much VA entitlement they have left. You get them paired with a good local lender. A lot of them are going to be young first time home buyers. So they're leaving the area they grew up in. This could be their first duty station. And it kind of depends on what they're looking for. Some of them come in here and they're wanting to buy a house that's a small starter home and start a portfolio of rental properties. And instead of renting when they come
Mm.
here, just buy something small. And then when they leave, they'll turn around and rent it out.
That's interesting because I would think, people in that line of work do move probably more often maybe than others.
Yeah,
So that's really interesting and that's smart for them, I think.
it is. It is.
Wow, we're really getting to the good part, and I can't wait for you to hear what comes next. But first, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to make sure you're following the Closing Table podcast wherever it is you get your podcasts. Also, please leave us a comment or review. It is the best no-cost thing you can do for the podcast, and it helps us find more awesome listeners like you. While I have you, I'd also like to highlight our sponsor. WindowStill provides premium real estate media for agents, builders, and property management companies nationwide. To learn more, visit windowstill.com. WindowStill, helping America find their next chapter. Now, back to the episode. So, you mentioned before kind of building your own team, and can we talk about kind of like the mentorship that goes in there? You know, you've been in this industry for 12 years or more, and so I'm sure you've picked up a lot along the way. Like, what is really important, like lessons that you impart on your team?
It's funny you say that. So I love the coaching, the mentorship program. We actually have a mentorship program with Coldwell Banker at our office for any new agents that come in and don't necessarily want to team up, but they get their license and they're like, now what do I do? It's a 21-step course that we offer, and I'm one of the mentors there. And I told my broker the other day, I was like, if I never sold another house and just did the mentor part of it, I'd be happy. Like, I enjoy the coaching, the molding, watching them grow, and just putting boots on the ground, kind of, do as I say, not as I do type practice, and just watch them fly. I had one of my agents here come from another brokerage, and she was new. She was at the other brokerage for maybe a month, a little over a month. Didn't know what a contract looked like, just had no coaching, no guidance, and come here, and she had her first property under contract within the first week.
Wow.
So I enjoy that. I really do.
What do you think is different about your approach?
I mean, I don't know, because maybe I'm compassionate about it. Like, I want you to succeed. I don't want you to fail and it be on my shoulders. And I think that's why with all of my team members, like, if with their deals, I help them, guide them through it. I have years of knowledge, like, and no deal is ever going to be the same. But if they have questions, they know that, they can call me nights, weekends, it don't matter. And I don't know, I don't want you to fail. And that was my thing. When I got into real estate, I was so scared, but I was like, I'm not going to fail. I'm going to do this. And no matter what comes at me, we're going, we're going to see this through. And I've just always had that mind aspect of it.
Yeah, that's a good mindset to have, because it's not failure if you've learned something, right? I'm sure in this industry you find that you're learning things all the time.
Oh yeah, I've had expensive learning curves thrown at me, and it's mistakes I'll never make before again. I've had to pay for privacy fences. That was a big, costly mistake, but I will always check those covenants now, always. And you always continue to learn. The education part, the marketing is always changing. New laws coming with Georgia, with the marketing, just with fair housing. I go to every continuing education class that I can. And then Coldwell Banker, our office, they offer training on Fridays for new agents and seasoned agents. And we have like a lot of roundtable discussions too.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I think, like you said, things are changing often. So it's not just people new on the scene that need to know this information. It's people who've been doing it for 10 or 20 years as well. Yeah. What are some, speaking of continuing education, like what are some like kind of key events or like conferences or things that you've gone to that you feel like everyone should go to?
So this past year alone, I went to the Georgia Association of Realtors conference in Atlanta. We stayed over there. You meet people all over. Sorry, not Georgia Association. That was in Savannah. The Gen Blue, our Coldwell Banker Gen Blue conference, was in Atlanta, and there was agents from literally all over the world that flew into Atlanta. I sat in a team continuing ed type class, and what was working for their teams, how they had their stuff structured. It makes you, what works for you is great, but somebody else may have this other way of doing it. And you're like, oh, I never thought of that. And that was a huge, I think, turning point for my team and my team members, because I had the mindset was like, I don't want to add nobody to my team. I was kind of comfortable where I was at, but then I'm like, you don't grow if you're comfortable. So I stepped out of my comfort zone and I brought in some more team members, which also brought in more leads and kept dishing them out. And they are all producing very well.
That's awesome to hear. Were there any like key takeaways from these conferences, like things that you've maybe started to work into your business?
Well, the marketing is the biggest thing that is changing for the brokerages, and it's across with, I guess, Georgia. Like my logo has to be the same size as Coldwell Banker's logo. Your
Mm,
photo can't be bigger than Coldwell Banker. It's a lot of stuff that I encourage everybody, if they have the opportunity to go sit in classes, to go sit in classes, because I promise you will take something away from it. Um, and then also with me having my associate broker's license, you now have to do continuing education geared for the broker's course, which I think is very important.
yeah, I love that because I I just think there's so much out there to learn. Um, let's talk a little bit more about kind of relationships with your clients. Like, I think I saw maybe something you posted about that prompted this question for me. Like, how do you help clients who are maybe like on the fence about selling? Like maybe they come to you and they're like, we're thinking of selling, but like we don't know. How do you handle that?
So if you come to me today and you're like, Skyler, I'm on the fence about selling, I don't know if I want to. Number one, we're going to look and see, is this going to be your forever home? How long do you see yourself in this property? If you're like, maybe a year or two, I can't predict what the market's going to be like in a year or two. So I would run what your CMA would be, what your seller's net would be, and show you what you could pocket from that sale. Or if you're like, I thought about selling versus renting, we have our own in-house rental management company. So luckily for me, I get to walk next door and be like, hey, where would we be able to rent this house for? How fast is your rentals moving? And then come to them with both of these options. I think that has 100% has been the turning point, whether people get off the fence or they're like, well, I'm gonna hold on to it a little bit longer.
Wow, that's so interesting. So do you find a lot of people maybe go the rental option?
Some of them do, depending on when they bought, depending on how much equity they have, and if they're wanting to do the portfolio of investment property. If they don't care nothing about investment and they're scared of the whole, I don't want someone messing my house up, then no, they want to go ahead and get it sold and move on to their next adventure.
Right. It just seems like you hear so many people talk about investment property. Maybe it's because I'm getting older. I don't know. I feel I feel like it's something I hear more and more about.
Yes, I took the leap last year. No, I've had it now going on 2 years, and I bought my first investment property. Um, and that is something that me and my husband we want to get more. And our goal is to do one a year. So,
Oh,
I mean, I
cool.
figured I help enough clients and commercial clients. They've built their portfolio, and I'm telling them all the time, you need to do this. Here's a good one for you to buy. And then I sit back and I'm like, but I'm not listening to what I'm telling you. So I feel like it's a very smart investment if that's what you're wanting to do with real estate. Like, I don't get retirement, so I could have to work up until the day I die. So I want to be able
Right.
to retire one day, and that's my retirement plan.
I love that. That's so cool. Congratulations on your first investment property.
Thank you. Luckily, I've had a
Um,
tenant in it for 2 years, so we've been
oh,
good.
good.
Knock on wood.
Good, good. I think if I was going to have a home anywhere, well, and it wasn't Hawaii, let's say it's continental, I would do Savannah. I love Savannah. I've been down there a handful of times, and oh, it's so beautiful.
It is the trees and the squares, and now they have
Oh my
beautiful
gosh.
properties that has been like restored. And we have so many clients that come in that retire and they want to live in Savannah.
I mean, they're they're not wrong. Like, what's not
No.
to love? um, Some of the other things I've noticed from your social media, just kind of like tips and tricks you threw out there that I think people would be interested in hearing about. You talk about some of the most appealing reno projects for for buyers, or I guess for sellers to attract buyers. Could you talk about some of those?
Yep. So if your house is very outdated, it's not going to be priced to sell at the top of the market. You do have to put a little bit of money into it to get your investment return. With the flooring, I mean, a coat of paint would go, it changes the way the house looks. Paint and flooring is a big thing. If you didn't have the money to replace the cabinets, put a coat of paint on them. That is one thing. One of my investors, we buy and flip, and I'm gonna say we because he buys it, but I pick the colors out, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's night and day. From Yes, he trusts me, thank goodness. He was actually my first sale when I got into real estate back
Oh,
in
wow.
2012. Yes, he was my very first sale, and I bet we have done 20 plus buys and flips. I sold him a commercial building, and he was very hesitant on it. He was like, I don't know, Skyler. And I'm like, listen to me, Shannon, it will pay off. And he's like, I'm so glad. So glad. So when he just went and bought his truck, he was like, I felt like I was out of my comfort zone because you were not sitting there with me when I signed those papers. So been very blessed with him. We will buy it, and he's like, all right, you tell me what colors I need to do. But we just listed one on the market last Friday. So, but he went
Very
in, we
cool.
did new cabinets, not new cabinets. He painted the cabinets. He did new countertops, um, the paint and flooring, and then called it a day, and light fixtures. So as long as it just has the updated feel to it, and if you get in a position where you don't have the funds to do that, offer an allowance. You can speak to your agent and be like, my seller is willing to replace the flooring. He's willing to give a credit, and that can
Oh,
be
that's
rolled
good to
into your
know.
closing cost. Yep.
Yeah. Do you think before kind of starting these projects, someone should consult a real estate agent so that they don't like maybe go off the deep end?
Highly suggested. Yes, if you're buying a property, or if a family member, you got a property and you're like, I want to flip it and list it, whoever you're going to list with, bring them over, let them walk through, and you tell them what you're planning on doing, and they'll be like, don't waste your money here, I would do this instead. So definitely 110%, because we see this all day long. And that's one thing with for sale by owners. I can't tell you how many of my friends have called me and be like, "Hey, what could we list this property at?" So I'll give them a seller's CMA, and next thing I know, they've got it listed on the website, on Facebook. I'm selling my property, yada yada yada, with what I requested or what I gave them to list at, and they list it for themselves, and I'm very happy for them. But then they'll call me back and be like, "Skyler, I ain't getting no traction. What do I need to do?" And I'm like, "Well,
Mm,
it needs to be on the MLS, is what it needs to do." So
right. I've seen that people selling houses on Facebook, and I'm like, what is this world?
yeah. Well, the good thing with us, like we're part of 4 different MLSs. So we do have that outreach. So when people are searching, I mean, it's everywhere. It's not going to just be targeted to the Hinesville area. If we have a Savannah property we're listing, because you do have people that is coming in retiring, and that agent that they're working with may not be on the Hinesville MLS, so they're not going to see that one. So it does make a big difference on with for sale by owners if they are listed with an agent.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just having so much more reach in terms of visibility and marketing, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you've talked about kind of working with investors versus working with like residential, or just, people who just want to live in the home. How is that transaction as an agent different? Or I guess how is that relationship with the client different?
So it really is. I'm not wouldn't say it isn't. With my investors, we do a lot of work together, but I know what their end goal is. So when I have a seller contact me and I go out there for my first appointment and then I get to meet the kids and the wife and like it's I don't know. I love getting to build that relationship and the babies. I think that's the thing that gets me is they send me like little things that they draw me at closing, and if they come to closing they'll sit in my lap, and I don't know, that's I love that part of my job, but I'm also like when they leave me I'm like, please stay in contact with me. So it is
Mm,
it's bittersweet, it is.
that is so sweet. And with your investors or with people looking for commercial property,
Mhm.
how does that compare to looking for a residential property? Do you find you work with a lot of people with going for first time commercial?
You do. Commercial is a whole other world. Like it is totally opposite from residential. The agents in commercial are different than residential agents. I feel like commercial is a lot more cut and dry. There is no chitty chat back and forth like me and you're doing. It's just, this is what I want, this is what they want, and then they leave it at that. So I enjoy commercial. It made me grow as an agent because I did have to get a little bit more of a backbone with commercial, but residential is my favorite.
And is it so like I don't know. I guess is do you have I'm struggling to form my question. Do you have to have an additional license to do commercial or is it's just real estate is real estate?
No. So our brokerage requires us to get continuing education on just commercial classes or on just the
Mm,
commercial course. Um, just because there is so much more to it. The terms that you do with residential real estate doesn't even apply with commercial. We have our own commercial team here, and our mentor that does that has been in it for years and years and years. And thank goodness, because I still go to him, and I'm like, "This is what's happening. What is my next step? Your rate of return, like the just so much more." Um, we could go on this all day long, but no,
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
totally different beast.
Totally. I guess it's just I was interested because I saw that you guys had residential listings and commercial listings and I was like, "Oh, that's unique." And then even I think some land listings and I don't recall if they were residential or commercial land, but how do buyers like say you want to buy property, right? You don't want to you want acreage. How
Mhm.
does that work for a buyer? If it's like, oh, well, say you have a listing for, I don't know, 10 acres or whatever, and I'm interested in that, and then I want to build my home, like, how do I go about that whole journey?
So I specialize in new construction. I love new
Oh,
construction. I
awesome.
work with a few builders. I help them from the ground up. So I do both the residential land sale and commercial land sale. With residential, if you would come to me and be like, Skyler, I want to be on 5 acres, I want to build a house. So, number one, we're going to make sure there is no restrictions on that land. There's no CUVA that you have to wait until after a certain point before it sells. Um, but once we find it, we would get you hooked up with a builder, make sure wherever you want to build, the soil's good. And then you just kind of, if you have a plan in mind, if not, we can get um, the builder to provide you a plan with what you want to stay within that budget. So it's fairly simple. It is taking us, the builder I use, he is not like a spec home builder. He doesn't do like the quarter acre new construction you see with no trees. He's more of you pick your lot, I'll build quality. It takes him almost a year from start to finish.
That's nice though. I mean, I used to work for a single family home builder and they were cookie cutter houses for better or for
Yeah.
worse, right? I'm sure all those people are really happy in their houses.
Yeah.
Um, but that's really interesting and I know lending in that situation, I know that's maybe not your forte, but like when someone is getting approved for their loans, like Are they having to get approved for more than one thing? Because I know usually with new construction, right, you get like a construction loan that you end up taking over.
Yes, you can do a one-time construction close if you, again, depending on the builder, what they're comfortable with. Excuse me. They would, if you found the land, the builder will buy the land and it's in his name, and then he would hold the construction loan, and then you would just do a regular closing from him at, the end
Ah,
of it.
okay.
So if you were using a VA loan, you would be able to use it, versus if you own the land and you did not want to carry your own construction loan, you would just quit claim deed that land over to the builder. He would do the construction loan, and then you would just close right at the end. So there is a few ways to do it. We do have a few banks that does construction loans around here, and you could do the draws if you wanted to be in control of that, and then pay the builder um, as you go. So it depends on what works best for you.
Totally. That's awesome. What are some of your like favorite kind of buys or sells like along your journey, like your favorite client stories?
Oh man, there's so many. There's so many. Again, the ones that I have got relationships with, there was a gentleman, this one. So he contacted me to sell his property. He found me from a review. I went out there, sold his house. He moved to Korea. Well, next thing I
Oh,
know,
wow.
I'm getting this big old box show up at my house, and he sends me all kind of goodies, like the shrimp chip stuff, little Mickey Mouse things, bottle opener, just little knickknacks from Korea. Well, his wife was moving to Texas. He contacted me. He was like, "Hey, I know you cannot sell in Texas, but do you have anybody in your network that you know?" And I was like, "Yes, I would love to." So, these little network events that I go to, I get business cards, contacts from all over. And I reached out to her and I was like, "Hey, he is looking to move here. Will you please take care of him?" So, got him that house. Well, he just sent me another email last week, and he was like, "Hey, we're moving back. Would you like to help us again?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So he is coming back, and I am already starting a house hunt for him. But
Oh,
that's
that's
just,
so cool.
you keep that relationship with them. And I don't know, people touch my heart.
Yeah, no, it's so that's so amazing that they thought of you in that way with the treats and stuff like that. And then of
Hmm.
course, returning to you for business. That's so cool.
He even sent stuff for the kids. Like he sent Foster some like
Oh,
little Play-Doh that they have over there, and it's very very neat.
that's super cool. Have you had any like surprises along this journey? Like unexpected things that happened?
um, so what type of surprises? Like per like the transaction or people in general or
Oh, I guess I just mean like that's so funny. When I ask this question, everybody interprets it differently. It's so fun to see where your mind goes. I guess I just mean I think of it as like kind of like a joyous surprise, like, oh, I never thought it would take me in this direction.
I think the team is what really took me. I had kind of after last year and seeing our production, how many homes we sold, the families we helped. Like I was like, never in a million years when I started my team would I have thought I would be where I'm at today. Never in a million years. And it's not so much as me even building my team, but like my team members trusting me to guide them. And I don't know. It's very humbling. And we had a collage of like closing pictures at the closing table, and then in front of the houses that they either bought or sold. And it's just, I don't know. It was over 100 families that was all pixelated in a collage, and I'm like, wow, wow. Because at the end of the day, like all have the same goal. The journey's different, but they all have the same goal.
What a great way to visualize your impact.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Well, Skylar, do you have anything you're looking forward to this year? Any big goals?
Um Not necessarily as big goals. I know with the whole market the way it is with interest rates, it does have people nervous. And we had a team meeting last week and just trying to bring more education to our buyers and sellers on what to expect, and us continuing to educate ourselves and learning how to navigate the market, just different trends on the marketing and how to get the buyers, the home they're looking for, because we are starting to see again with spring coming in, escalation clauses and different tactics that now we're going to have to go up a bat against. And you have multiple offers on properties all over again. And so it's just now trying to amp up and figure out what we can do better to serve our clients and customers. And that's just always continuing to educate ourselves.
That's awesome. Well, Skyler, thank you so much for joining me today. Would you like to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me. You can go to my Facebook page. I have a link tree, but you're more than welcome to reach out to me on my cell phone at any time, 912-387-3076. And again, I'm with Coldwell Banker Southern Coast at SL Realty Group. That's my team, and where you're located in Hinesville. But service all. If you want coastal properties, come see me. Savannah, come see me. Farmland, come see me. We do it all.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching. This has been the Closing Table Podcast brought to you by WindowStill. I'm your host, Kat, and we will see you next time. Thank you.